All right, we're here in Cozumel with Todd Skipworth, but better known in the team as Skippy. Skippy, in Cozumel, how are you going so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Enjoying it. We've got there's a really good bunch of guys and girls here. Weather's perfect. No hills, but the wind more than makes up for that. So, yeah, and the locals have been really awesome. They've had a couple of bike races and running races that we've joined in on.
Yeah.
And you know, the facilities are pretty amazing. The track and the roads. That dedicated bike road up the other end there is just phenomenal.
The 43-mile loop.
Yeah, you don't get that in too many places around the world. So, yeah.
Oh, good. So, let's look at, because where are you from back in Australia?
I'm from Perth,
Yeah.
Western Australia.
Yeah.
But I've spent the last 3 years of my life in Tasmania,
Yeah.
down in Hobart, where it's a lot colder than here most of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been all around Australia just about, but most of the time in Perth and Tassie.
Right. Now, Skippy, you joined the team, I think it's 4 months, how many months ago now?
Yeah, pretty much December.
Yeah?
Yeah, so 4 months.
So you came in actually very interesting, because obviously you've rowed for Australia and the Olympics 2 times. Wait, you've got such a great rowing career. Why would you stop that?
Yeah, that's not a bad question, actually. I think it was a new challenge.
Yeah.
Something individual that sort of was probably the biggest draw card, was just going out. I mean, I've rowed in the lightweight 4, so it's a very team-orientated sport, rowing. By its nature, it's probably unlike anything else, I'd say. If you have any disagreements or sort of misfires in the crew, it affects all 4, obviously. And so, yeah, I think the lure of doing something completely individual and off my own back was the main reason. But then, different challenges. I mean, I swum a lot as a kid, and in 2008 and 2009 had a go at a few Ironmen and really enjoyed the training and the people and the competitions. And yeah, just thought I'd...
Correct. So away from the team effort, which means away from relying on others, but also away from hiding, in a way?
Yeah, I think so. And probably... like the flip side of that is the expectation of others in the crew as well, and always having to perform for them as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not only the fact that I'm relying on other people, but others relying on me, I guess.
Yes.
You know, that's it doesn't play on your mind, but it's a big factor in rowing.
Yeah,
you know,
pressure,
yeah.
Talk us a little bit, because of course, Skippy, I've overheard it. We've had chats and I've had conversations with you and Brett alone. Talk us a little bit through your sporting career as a kid, because I know you've done a lot, and I heard these like 100-kilometer swimming weeks, and so you've been around for a long time. Talk us a little bit through.
Yeah, so I started swimming. I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, pretty seriously. I mean, well, as serious as you can for a 9 or 10-year-old. I was going 4 or 5 times a week, and then when I was reasonably young, I think I was still in primary school, I got picked up in a bit of a national development squad with the swimming, and that was a big part of my life, I guess, going through primary school and high school. And we had, Brett knows him, but we had a pretty insane coach that himself used to be a 1,500 metre swimmer, and
what was that?
He used to love dishing out the workload. That was Matt Brown. Yeah, and he used to give us some pretty big weeks, so... And then we were fitting in some swimming at school on top of that, you know. And at the old water polo game for a club here or there, and things like that. So that was, I mean, that filled, most of my younger years. And then when I went to high school, my dad actually suggested trying rowing, because he sent me to a private school, and he was pretty big on just experiencing what that had to offer, you know. A lot of the public schools in Australia don't offer things like rowing, so... He was a big advocate for just getting a taste of all the opportunities that lie in a private school system, and I guess I got the bug a little bit with rowing in school, and I was fortunate there. We had another coach that was a bit of a taskmaster, and he'd rowed for Australia himself, and knew the pathways with rowing and sort of, I guess, was a bit of a mentor in a way, and said, well, you could probably make it for Australia if you really wanted to, and you put your head down. And
how old were you when they were?
So I was probably 16 or 17 then, coming to the end of the school, sort of rowing, and he just said, well,
big decision time.
Why not go to a club and have a crack? And then I was really lucky early on in my rowing days. I just happened to, I think, get put with the right people, and they made me look good. And
yeah, sure.
Got picked up, I think, the first year out of school on an under-23 team for Australia. Mm-hmm. Got a taste for travelling. We went over to Poland that year and did terribly, but I loved it. And then the next year I was really fortunate. I made the jump straight up. I was only 19 or 20 and made the jump straight up to a senior A crew, which is the Olympic level crew. And again, I was just in a boat with 3 really good guys, and we had a great coach in Tasmania. Yep. And we were a pretty young crew, but we got 4th at the Worlds that year, which wasn't expected at all. And I was in that, basically in the 4 every year since. Yeah,
great. How did you? So the Olympics must have been, at your age, that's an almost intimidating and impressive, experience at the same time. What did you learn? What's the takeaway from an experience like that on a young age?
Yeah, there's lots actually. Like looking back now, you put it dead right. It's intimidating but exciting at the same time when you're 23, and I mean that was pretty much the first Olympic team I'd gone for, and I made it. And at that age, making the Olympics almost seems like enough. You still got the desire, obviously, to perform and win a gold, but I think that it's not quite as honed as somebody that's been there and missed out. And we had a good run into Beijing up until about 6 weeks out, and one of the guys in our boat, he had a rib injury, and that was sort of the end of that run. So we struggled a little bit at the games, and I'd say Beijing was the best and worst experience all rolled into one. Like it was amazing to go to the Olympics and see the spectacle and that sort of thing. But it definitely, that was probably the catalyst for why I was really rowing. Like at the same time, we suffered a massive defeat, and there was 2 courses. You could either say, oh well, I've achieved what I wanted to, I went to the Olympics, or I really want to go back and have a crack at winning a gold medal, which was what London was all about.
Yeah. Without talking numbers, Skippy, that's not what it's about, but as a sport, triathlon is not a very rich sport, and obviously we're trying to raise the bar a bit. And how's that with rowing? Because I don't know whether rowing is really so big, but you could survive during those years, or you needed to work outside?
Yeah, we definitely had to, early on, you had to work alongside rowing. Yeah. We got pretty lucky in 2010, 11, 12, in the lead up to London. We had some success at the World Championships, and you get medal incentives from the Australian Olympic Committee and Rowing Australia, our governing body. But it's all very much government funded, so it's it's enough to sort of get you by on a week-to-week basis, but definitely not put anything in the bank.
Understood.
But then there is other people that can do really well out of rowing. Some of the European nations rowing's huge for them. Yeah. And they get good money out of it.
Yeah, I think actually, I'm from Holland. Thinking the Holland rowers can do.
They can do pretty well.
Job. Yeah. Still, it's not soccer. It's not tennis. And
no, definitely not.
Yeah. So, why triathlon? Because there's still a bit of a gap between rowing and triathlon.
Yeah, I guess. So going back to in 2008 and 9, had a little bit of a taste and have that swimming background. So, and we do a lot of cross training for rowing on the bike. So I did do.
You did an Ironman, you said, right? Which one did you do?
Yeah, so in 2008 I did Busselton, and then 2009 I did Port Macquarie. Okay. And then that qualified me for Kona, so I went over and
age group
had a crack. Yeah.
How did you go?
Miserably. I blew up pretty hard on the bike, and I was studying full time as well at the time, so I was training and studying and trying to balance it all. And I really went there. It was a year off rowing, so it was really just for the experience of Kona, and a couple of other mates were going, and I sort of thought,
bit of
why not?
fun factor as well.
Yeah. So,
but it means if you qualified in either Basso or Port Mac, you were top 3, top 4 in at one of those events.
Yeah. I think I won my age group.
Oh, there you
which
go.
Was enough to get there.
No mucking around there.
Nah. So yeah, that's basically why triathlon, I guess. It's just got the taste in 2008 and 9, and it is one of those sports that you definitely get the bug for, because it's so hard to find the balance between all 3 sports.
Yes.
And
yet
that challenge is what.
Yeah, and yet you have to be good at all 3 if you want to perform on a high level.
Yeah.
So why teamTBB, and why Brett in a way?
Another good question. So in 2008 and 9, when we were mucking around, a good friend of ours from Perth, T, introduced us to Andrew Johns.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And we went out on a couple of rides with him, and he towed us up severely.
Which he loves to do, by the way.
Yeah, which he does on the bike. And he just caught wind that we were another friend and I were both doing the Ironman, and he said, "Oh, well, I'd be more than happy to coach you or give you a bit of advice along the way if you like." Yeah. And at that stage, we were just 2 rowers bashing our heads against the wall, really, in triathlon. So it was much appreciated. And then, he was just super encouraging, and he said, you guys could really make a go of this if you wanted. And then that was directly after Beijing, so I still knew that I wanted to go around again, and I hadn't achieved what I really wanted to in rowing, so I wanted to have another 4 years at really trying to get there and making the fixes that I thought that needed to be made, and have another crack for a gold medal. And then just coincidentally, we had a weekend off about 3 weeks out from London, and we went to visit Johnsy and Lacin. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, well, if you've had enough of this going backwards business," he said, you could have a crack at the tries again. And he just basically laid it straight, and he's really good, similar to Brett, I guess. He said, there's only one guy in the sport that can get you to where you want to go, and that's Brett. Yeah. And then I after London, I flew back to Lacin and had 2 weeks there just to meet Brett and the squad, and stayed with Johnsy and
Elizabeth. Yeah,
Elizabeth, and got my head around, I guess, whether Brett was all that Johnsy was saying, and why he was, which he definitely is. I mean, he's probably, I guess, the proof is in the pudding, as people like to say, but it's more so coming from, I mean,
you've had many coaches.
I've had a lot of coaches, and a lot of really good coaches as well, and you can see why what he does works. It's a no-nonsense approach. He doesn't sugarcoat things. Everybody's said all this stuff before, but I think the real proof is in how he handles me on a bad day to a good day. The little subtleties that he'll do with training that, I don't think many coaches would be able to pick up on, let alone actually change a program on the run. It's not, I would say it's not many, if any, coaches' strong point. They generally have an idea of how a program should look and what they want their athletes doing, and that's the direction you follow for 10, 12, 14, 16 weeks of training.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's very intuitive, but also very flexible, and it's kind of like there's a lot of stuff going on in their mind across 30 athletes, and sometimes you don't know how he figures it, keeps it all separate.
Well, that's probably the more impressive thing is, he picks that up okay for me, but then there's 35 other athletes that he's doing that for at the same time. And it's not an easy thing to do as a coach, that's for sure. And I mean, I think the improvements that I feel I've made in the last sort of month and a half being here with him have been pretty significant, so we'll have to wait and see till we race. But
that's what we pick up, and I think I guess it's a matter now of I mean, he's very enthusiastic and obviously very excited, and I think we both, without building up unnecessary pressure, but he's he sees great potential, and obviously races still to come.
Yeah.
But so what's the plan for the next, let's say, 2 or 3 months, Skippy?
We're in a bit of limbo at the moment, so we're finding out about a couple of races in the States and a couple of races in Asia, and it'll probably depend on how they all sort of fit in to Brett's grand scheme, I think, as to which ones I go and do.
Correct. Well, that's about great, because most triathletes will probably look at this and listen to this and say, what the hell, here is Team TBB, and every athlete must have like the next 12 months of races laid out, and you have no clue what's going to happen in 4 weeks' time.
No, that's right.
Well, I think that probably describes us quite well.
Yeah, I think that hits the nail on the head.
Correct. I think last question. You've achieved a lot in rowing. You've had obviously a great sporting career so far. What's the dream? What's the vision?
Yeah, I think for everybody looking at the triathlon, Kona's the dream, and having been there, it's a race that I'd love to go back and do, and just see if I can really sort of produce something on that course.
Yes.
But I mean, for now, the dream's just to, I guess, get as good as I can over the next year or two in triathlon, and hopefully make it a career, make a living out of it, and keep doing it.
Wonderful. Well, I wish you all the best. I think there's definitely a lot of exciting news and stuff coming up from you over the next few months. We'll check in and keep following, and good luck on the training, mate.
Thanks, Alex.
Alrighty. Cheers.